Just days before the 10th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, New York and Washington, D.C. could be the target of a new terrorist plot. Security in both cities is being stepped up over what's being called a credible but unconfirmed report of an al-Qaeda car bomb plot. The report says bridges and tunnels in both cities are being targeted. New York Mayor Michael Bloomberg says 9/11 observances will go ahead as planned. Part of what made September 11th so unforgettable were the images taken in the minutes and hours after the attacks. The journalists who captured those photographs and video footage risked their own lives in order to bring the story to the world. Up to the minutes, Frank Ucciardo caught up with some of those journalists recently.
Betty, the story you're about to see features 4 journalists that captured some of the most iconic graphic images of the September 11th terrorist attacks. Some of these men ran towards the explosions and fires at the World Trade Center towers, not knowing that they would eventually have to run for their lives, which in a New York minute would be changed forever.
When I got down to the World Trade Center, it was just after the first plane hit. There was smoke and flames pouring from the North Tower.
All I knew was that a plane had hit the World Trade Center. But when I passed Canal Street, I saw the second plane hit the building. At that point, I knew what we had. I knew we were under attack.
So I had a view of both towers, and I could see both towers are on fire.
I started shooting. I was close up to the windows. And I saw every window about 25 head and looking for help.
I mean, that was a murder scene, and there were thousands of innocent people killed. You know, short of a nuclear attack, this was the biggest story that we were ever going to cover or be a part of.
There's a ugly plume of black smoke coming from the tower, and out of the middle of the frame, bright orange flames are belching out, reaching forward, coming from the tower. That picture won many, many awards, but I'd give anything to have not taken it.
After the first collapse, I had taken a picture of a firefighter looking up in the air, and next to him was a temporary headquarters vehicle fully engulfed in fire. You couldn't believe what you were seeing when you saw something like that.
I'm always aware of the falling man image. It was published shortly after 9/11, like the following day, in the New York Times, for example, and then it was never shown again. This image has been one that's I always thought is a very quiet image. There's no mayhem in it. There's no blood. There's nobody's on fire.
And I start shooting. People jump from the window. And these people, when they jump from the window going down, they hurt people because firemen near the building, they killed a lot of people down.
The picture of firefighter Danny Sir after he had been hit by what turned out to be a jumper was probably the most shocking thing for me. It was the first time that I actually cried. When I saw something like that, it was just so horrible. I didn't know that it was a jumper that landed on him. I had no idea. I only know that something hit him.
Fire Chief Jerry Barbera of the New York City Fire Department is in the foreground looking up at this daunting task of saving lives and rescuing people from the tower that's burning. It's the last photograph that was taken of Jerry Barbera alive.
The first building collapsed. I saw the smoke. I was rolling all the time. Smoke coming down and a lot of dust coming.
I ran into 2 firefighters who were with David HANDSCHUH, who was on the ground and had broken his legs from the collapse.
I was buried alive, face down in the streets of New York, covered with debris, trapped. Started calling for help, and a group of New York City firefighters from Engine 217 in Brooklyn heard me calling for help and said words I'll never forget. "Don't worry, brother, we'll get you out."
And it was this crazy scene. There was this triage center set up there, and they were bringing hundreds and thousands of evacuees by boat to the triage center there in Jersey City. So I figured I'd walk back towards the ground zero area, and in doing so, I saw these 3 firemen up on a ledge at the southwest corner of ground zero, and I saw them fumbling with this flag, and I was anticipating they were going to do something with the flag. There was really no time for me to do much more than compose the picture and shoot the picture as the flag went up. The flag-raising picture, for me, is a very bittersweet thing. I think that The picture clearly has meant a lot to a lot of people. I still receive letters, phone calls, and emails from people telling me how much this picture means to them. It's a very bittersweet thing. I mean, I could never, really get past the fact that thousands of innocent people died that day. And that's really what the picture's about.
I think the thing that really bothers me about 9/11, and it was the first time that I heard an airplane fly up the Hudson River again after 9/11. And still to this day, when I see planes flying over Manhattan, it really catches my eye and I look at them. I'm really freaked out by that.
And suddenly it's happened like I got shocked. I don't like to see it. I need with somebody to see my footage. Then I sit down with somebody and I saw my footage. And I don't believe it. I covered this story.
I could not believe what I'd seen. It was like the first time where I actually started to cry. I never do that, but it was just so terrible and so shocking. But we need to remember that.
9/11 evokes different memories and emotions for everyone, but for the journalists who covered 9/11, their images will remain unforgettable. Betty?
Well, Frank, you were there on 9/11 covering that yourself. What one image sticks out in your mind?
There were a lot of images and terrifying sounds that day, but I guess the one thing was standing at the base of the World Trade Center Tower building and videotaping what was going on up there, and then it started to fall down on us. And we outran the avalanche of debris, myself and my cameraman, and dove into the basement of St. Peter's Church there, and that's how we survived.
We're glad you did. Thank you so much for that report. Very touching.